This is the Bucks Beat, dishing scoops and dropping knowledge about your favorite team.
Inbound pass, he will hand up to Giannis. Look out below. Whoa, hide the women and children. Giannis goes flying to the rim.
Stay tapped in with the Bucks Beat.
Hands it off to Green. AJ fires up a transition three, and he drills it. The Bucks have officially re-entered the conversation.
Powered by Bucks Plus, the official podcast network of the Milwaukee Bucks. Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Here's your host, Monis Khan.
Ladies and gentlemen, ball lovers and ball knowers, welcome back to the Bucks Beat. I am Monis Khan, the editor-in-chief of Bucks Plus, the official podcast network of the Milwaukee Bucks. And every week here on the Bucks Beat, we are bringing you essential insights and analysis from the people who know the team best, the ones on the beat. Today, we have an action-packed show for you, and I'm thrilled to have Ben Steele, beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and a really delightful conversation about his reporting this season on Ryan Rollins and what he is calling the golden age of Wisconsin-bred hoopers in the NBA, a conversation you will not want to miss coming up. And then the talk of the town, an exclusive excerpt from the Bucks Plus podcast Courtside, hosted by Gail Klappa. And today, don't call it a Woj bomb, we're calling it a Gail bomb, because Gail was speaking with Doc Rivers, Bucks head coach, and Doc on the pod this afternoon broke the news an hour and a half before Shams ended up tweeting it out. The timeline of Giannis's return from that groin injury. So Bucks fans feeling relieved right now with the Gale bomb that Doc dropped on the Courtside podcast that Giannis will be returning in 2 weeks, maybe even sooner. 7 games in the next 2 weeks. That's what the Bucks are playing, a grueling part of their schedule. And even last night, after the Cavs game, when there was a lot more uncertainty about Giannis's timeline to return, Doc managed to bring what he called the silver lining of Giannis's injury and the opportunity it will give other players on the team to step up. This is what Doc had to say after the game against the Cavs.
There's always a silver lining, guys. I'm telling you, I believe that all the time. I don't know what it is. It doesn't look good right now. You know, we got Scoot out and Giannis out. That's not great for our team. But we're going to either find somebody or find something to run that will pay dividends later. And that's the stretch that we're about to go through. We'll be ready.
And Doc should know, because it was Ryan Rollins who emerged only because of the injury to Kevin Porter Jr., thrusting Ryan into the starting lineup. Ryan, who today is averaging 17 points a game on over 50% shooting from the field, 40% from three. I mean, these are extraordinary numbers he is consistently putting up on a game-by-game basis. This is not highs and lows. This is really yeoman's work that he's doing every day. So who's going to be the next star that emerges with Giannis out over the next week or 2 weeks with the groin injury? Well, we're going to get into that later on in the show with Here District producer Dylan Hunter Carter. It's an action-packed show, and you won't want to miss a moment. You are listening to the Bucks Beat on WTMJ, and we'll be right back after a quick break for our interview with Ben Steele, beat writer for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Welcome back to the Bucks Beat. I am your host, Monis Khan, editor-in-chief of Bucks Plus, and thrilled to be joined by my buddy on the Bucks Beat. I love seeing Ben at the Bucks games. Ben Steele, who is the beat writer for the Marquette Golden Eagles, but also is palling around here and there on the Bucks Beat. Ben, pleasure to have you. And I just want to get started here, Ben, about working as a beat writer, something I've always been curious about, when I'm covering games, I'm kind of in my own lane, and I
Mhm.
don't necessarily feel a level of competitiveness between me and you and some of the other guys covering the team. But I'm curious. I see you and writers and people from different outlets, the AP, the Athletic. I see how beat writers sometimes between different outlets work as a team. And is that the case, Ben? Are there moments where you can actually kind of work with
Yeah.
the different writers from different outlets on the beat?
Yeah, it's interesting. First of all, Monis, I appreciate you having me on. I've been waiting for this text from you for a while, so seeing that pop in there, man, this is
I think
awesome
you're
for me.
episode 3, dude. So
Oh,
that's right. You're in that Mount Rushmore of first guest on the Bucks beat.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. Like in my role, like Jim Ozarski, he's the main beat writer for the Journal Sentinel for the Bucks. I'm just a helper guy. That's how I view myself. So anything that Jim asked me to do, that's what I'm going to do. Lori Nickel, who's a columnist for the Journal Sentinel, we work together. We all have our own kind of story ideas that we can work on. So Jim being the main guy, he obviously has a lot of day to day stuff. I think when you talk about teamwork and you see everyone kind of huddling, we get the pregame with Doc. Um, a lot of that stuff is just like the basic questions that you have to ask every day. About injuries, who's playing, who's sitting out. Um, so those are kind of things where you say, "Hey, is it my turn to ask this time? Is it your turn?" Because there's so many games. There's 82 regular season games, so there's a lot of that going on. And sometimes I fill in as the main guy, like with so many games, like especially at the end of the season when Jen's gone through a whole long season of traveling. I hop in there. Marquette, their season ends in March, so there's more regular season for the Bucks after that. So that's when I hop in. Kind of, you see me a lot at the beginning of the season. You see me a lot at the end of the regular season, because my Marquette duties kind of keep me busy, and depending on schedules and whatnot, I hop in here and there. I have my own kind of story ideas that I work on, and we'll talk about all the Wisconsin guys in the NBA. That's when I've kind of taken on that as kind of part of my job duties. So whenever those guys come to town, I try to make it as long as my schedule allows. So yeah, I mean, there's a teamwork element and covering all the basic stuff that you have to do every day. Um, the competitive element that you were asking about, like that comes in when you think you have a really good story idea. Like if I tell Jim, "Hey man, if it's okay with you, can I work on uh this story?" Like I'm trying to think of an example. This season, like early in the season, we kind of figured that Ryan Rollins would be a major storyline this season, which it turned out to be the case. So that was like a good story idea that we wanted to work on at the beginning of the year. He just got the contract. So I told Jim, yeah, I would take this. Like I know his college coach, Ted Kowalczyk, who is from Green Bay, another Wisconsin connection for you. Um, so I got his college coach at Toledo on the phone. So we did through that story. So Jim kind of allows me to like, if I have an idea, I can do that. And that's a story where I would like take a player aside in the locker room and try to get that story for myself as opposed to like a typical media scrum, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. And I love this that you brought up the Ryan Rollins story, and I want to just ask you about that. What do you think is the part of his game that he's bringing from what he did at Toledo? I mean, he was a pretty prolific bucket getter
Yeah.
when he was at Toledo. What do you think he's bringing, and what do you think is different from what he was asked to do in Toledo to what he's being asked to do for the Bucks? I'm curious if defense was as much a part of his identity even back then in college as it is now.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I talked to his college coach, he said like, when you watch him play, just that his wingspan is crazy, for a guy his size. And I think that's what stood out to Todd Kowalczyk, who was scouting him at some AU event and just like, man, this kid, he's got all the tools. We need to get this guy. So yeah, that defensive element showed up just with his physical tools, and he was more of an on-ball player at Toledo. So he had those skills in his repertoire in his bag. They didn't quite show the last couple seasons with the Bucks because I mean it was a different role for him. He was just kind of like a plug-in defensive guy. I think the Bucks kind of knew that he had the offensive skill set that he's shown this season, And I mean, it definitely paid off. They got that team-friendly contract, and he's definitely showing what he could do. I mean, he's even better than I knew he was going to be pretty good this season, but he's even better than I anticipated he would be.
I mean, coming out of this game last night versus the Cavaliers, he's averaging 17 points a game this season. I mean, and that is night in and night out.
Yeah,
Over
it's
20
legit.
points last night. Like in case you were wondering whether like he was going to be an inconsistent, I mean, he is one of the most consistent players, the most probably, other than Giannis, on this Bucks team. Every night he's giving you double digits,
Hmm.
assists, deflections, leading the league in deflections. We are here on the Bucks Beat on WTMJ, speaking with Ben Steele, a beat writer who covers both the Marquette Golden Eagles and the Milwaukee Bucks for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. And we'll be right back with Ben Steele after this break. We are here back on the Bucks Beat with Ben Steele, beat writer for the Marquette Golden Eagles and the Milwaukee Bucks for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Ben, one of the beats that you cover that I just love is something that I'm super fascinated by. Our robust pipeline of
Yeah.
talent from Wisconsin prep hoops to the NBA. I mean, every single year, you got guys in the lottery, Knueppel this season. Then
Yeah.
you even got some of these second round guys. You got guys who are constantly at the top of a sort of high school preps list, like a Patrick Baldwin Jr., who
Hmm.
kind of fell into the back of
Yeah.
the first round. But I mean, this goes back for almost over 10 years. Like I remember when Diamond Stone was coming out
Yeah.
of Milwaukee and drafted in the like lottery or first round by the Los Angeles Clippers. Obviously wasn't able to sustain a career in the NBA. One thing I'm curious about, Ben, is these guys, they come in all different forms. You got Jalen Johnson from Nicolay, who is like, do it all forward. But you also have guys like Kevon Looney, who, really a ground bound, big man. But Ben, is there anything like character wise, between the ears, the attitude that you feel like might be a constant between some of these prep stars who become NBA draft picks
Yeah, it's
from
real.
Wisconsin?
It's interesting. Like I really think we are in like the golden age of Wisconsin prep stars into NBA. That pipeline you're talking about. I mean, Jalen Johnson, Knueppel, Brandon Pajimski, Tyrese Haliburton, Tyler Herro, Jordan Poole. Like, all, I mean,
I mean,
that's
think
for a
about it.
state of
Those
this
guys are,
size, man. This is
yeah.
that's pretty impressive. Common characteristics. I think it's a well-roundedness. Like you mentioned, Looney finding his role as a center in the NBA. People forget when he was at high school at Milwaukee Hamilton, he was a point guard. He was like a KD type of guy
That's crazy.
as a bucket getter. Yeah, he was handling the ball. Um, it yeah. I when I did a story on him when he was with the Warriors used to joke about it with him. They used to call him like Milwaukee Loon. That's what when they give him the ball and let him like handle the ball a little bit. That's what they called him. But you see that well-roundedness of Jalen Johnson. I mean, the guy had almost a freaking quadruple double the other week. I know it was against the Jazz. It's still an NBA team. I know they're tanking, but it still counts. I mean, talk about what do you have, like 31, 18, and 14 assists and 7 steals. And then Knueppel, man, he's the same way. Like, I
Wow,
know he was
yeah.
kinda pigeonholed as kinda like a shooter, and I thought that was gonna be like his how he stuck and found a role at first in the NBA, but you saw against the Bucks, like, he was taking the ball to the rack, he was, like, guarding Giannis on some possessions. He's a really well-rounded guy, man, and the same thing can be said about, Tyrese Haliburton. I know he's a divisive figure amongst probably your listeners, but, I mean, you can't deny, like, his well-rounded skill set. So I think there's, a kinda like a fundamentally sound in all aspects of the game, kind of runs that's kinda like the through line with all those prospects.
I think that's a really good point, and it might be the fact that a lot of these guys, they played high school ball in Wisconsin for their local teams, rather than go to a Oak Hill or, some of these like IMG, these star factories where you have to play like a really like a role on that
Niche,
team.
yeah,
These
yeah.
guys, yeah, you have to find your role, play a niche. You're alongside a lot of sort of high caliber prospects. But here, when you're playing Wisconsin prep hoops, you got to do it all to win.
Yeah.
And I think that adds an element to their game. I love your breakdown of that. And another pipeline that we've seen over decades really be consistent is how Marquette has been able to churn out guys into the NBA. Ben, I love like this conversation on social media that everybody started chirping in on, that maybe Tom Crean started around the Marquette guy.
Yeah.
But what is a Marquette guy? And even when you're not sort of that prototypical wing player, like how do some of these guards, how do some of these bigs in the NBA embody that mentality?
Yeah, I think it kinda started that Marquette guy is kind of a branding that both the teams kinda taken on, and I think it started, uh, back with, like, Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, Wes Matthews, these guys who weren't, like, lottery picks, but they found a role as, like, tough, defensive-minded, smart players. Uh, all 3 of those guys have forged, like, over decade-long NBA careers when I don't think anyone would have predicted that would be the case when they all came out of Marquette. You've seen that trickle down to, Inshaka Smart's, tenure this is his 5th year as a coach at Marquette. He's had 4 NBA players so far, 4 NBA draft picks. Um, Oso Ighodaro, Tyler Kolek, Cam Jones, Omax Prosper. Uh, those guys their games are a little bit different than
Yeah.
those guys, Jimmy Butler and Jay Crowder. It's a different NBA now than when those guys came in. But I think there's still that element of just being tough, gritty, finding a way. I think all 4 of those guys, um, Omax was a first round pick. The other guys were picked in the second round. But I think all of them are gonna have long careers just because of the way they play and how smart they are. Oso Ighodaro, he was a plus 52 in a game, for the Suns. I think it was a week ago. It was probably in the last week. I know plus minus is a kind of a weird stat, but I think that particularly for Oso's game, that kinda embodies, like, how smart and how effective he can be affecting the game in many different ways, for a guy who can't score at all. I mean, that's like was the biggest knock on him was, like, he can't shoot outside of the basket, and how would he find his way in the NBA? But he's such a good passer and such a smart player, and the way he processes the game and everything, um, he's gonna find a way to play 10 years in the NBA, and it's kinda like those other guys that they just found their niche, and that's being a Marquette guy these days.
I did. So many players went before Oso, went before Tyler, but they have real roles, even in their second year on teams that have at least some ambition. The Knicks, obviously, a lot of ambition,
Mm.
think that they can win a title. But Phoenix is not just going to fold and say, hey, we're in rebuilding mode. They want to win games too. They kind of like did a rebuild, reload almost in Phoenix, and Oso is a big part of their team and has been even last year as a rookie. So, and I think our listeners here on WTMJ, on the Buck Speed, you get a real idea in this conversation with Ben on the great stories that he's telling for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. So if you don't already have the subscription, which is like, what are you doing? Support local journalism. Ben is telling stories every week, every day about the great hoopers who come out of Wisconsin, about whatever is going on in the story program at Marquette, and he's covering the Milwaukee Bucks. So definitely give Ben a follow on social media and definitely subscribe and keep track of the great work he's producing at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Ben Steele, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining me today on the Bucks Beat.
Hey, I appreciate the kind words, man. Right back at you.
And after the break, we'll get into the story of the week for the Milwaukee Bucks. You're listening to the Bucks Beat on WTMJ. We are back on the Bucks Beat with Dylan Hunter Carter. Dylan, how are you doing?
I'm great, Monis. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's it's been a rough week for the Milwaukee Bucks, 1-3 in the last 4 games, and the first time the team lost back-to-back this season so far. So Dylan is the producer of the Here District podcast for Bucks Plus, and a great guest this week with Nekias Duncan.
A lot of X's and O's, deep diving on switches, rotations, defense, rebounding. It's for the real ball knowers.
The real ball knowers, indeed. Nekias Duncan, host of the Dunker Spot podcast with Steve Jones on Yahoo Sports. And also, you can listen to that on the NBA app. So a very exciting conversation. We'll kind of get into it a little bit, but I want to begin with a bright spot for the Bucks, because I know this, especially this past week when we're on a little bit of a losing streak and a lull as far as the regular season has gone, and people are concerned about the defense, the rebounding. Now there actually is a category, a very important category, that the Bucks are among the leaders in the NBA.
Number 2 in the league in three-point shooting in this past week, 4 games. They shot the lights out, 46% from 3 in that time. They were taking a ton of them as well. So the volume is there, the efficiency is there. And this is something that you need, especially in a Giannis-centric team, in order to thrive in today's NBA with this pace and space era. If you're not knocking down the 3 ball, you're not in contention. So that's really important for this team, and I think it's going to be a big difference maker down the stretch of the year.
And obviously sustaining over 40%, hard to do over the course of a regular season. But last year, they were number 1 in the league at 38%, over 38% from the three-point line. So definitely something to be excited about, encouraged about. If you're a Bucks fan, at this part of the season, 15 games in, they're over 40% from 3. Very important performance that they're going to have to keep up if they really do want to continue to compete in the Eastern Conference. And Dylan, another exciting wrinkle to the starting lineup. We finally saw Doc get into Kuz in the starting lineup at that small forward position and lean into the 3 big lineup. And that's something Nekias also discussed on the Here District podcast this week.
Yeah, we really dove into it. So that lineup, it's ridiculous. I mean, their net rating is like 32, which would put them at the highest offense and the best defense in the league. So when those 3 guys are sharing the court together, they're making magic happen. The defense, the chemistry, it's all coming along, especially Giannis and Kuz. These guys, their 2-man game, it's going to another level. I think they just need a little bit of time to get used to playing alongside each other, but they've been fantastic, and here's what Nekias Duncan had to say about it.
The combination of Giannis, Kuzma, and Miles are a 30-point net.
I want to get Nekias' take on that. What you think about the big lineup?
I am intrigued by it. It's one of those that kind of raises the brow. Like, can this continue to work? Then from there, let's build some counters to see how teams are guarding us. You know, as you add that data, you get into the playoffs, like, oh, we know in the back pocket, we can go to this counter if we need to. Like, I'm all for that kind of experimentation.
Just amazing insight to Nekias, because it's that type of tinkering on a game-by-game basis. That's chess match that you get into in the playoffs, that the data that we're getting right now on how effective that lineup is at this part of the season, it could really pay dividends once Giannis comes back. And that seems to be the big if, the big question mark, the big storm cloud floating over this team right now, with Giannis going down and out for the game in the second half with a groin injury. Dylan, it seems like inevitably that must be this week's story of the week for the Bucks.
Told you, man, I'm trying not to make it Giannis every week, but he makes it so difficult for me not to make it Giannis every week. So this against Cleveland, right? They're on the road. He goes down, he's grabbing at his leg. He runs back, tries to play defense, but it's clear he's hobbling a little bit. Something's not right. So they're calling it a left groin strain. Now, we've seen this pretty frequently in the league recently. A mild groin strain is normally only a week or 2. Some of the more severe groin strains could be about a month to 6 weeks. So we're not fully sure on what Giannis' prognosis is yet. Doc said that he's going to have an MRI possibly today, definitely within the next couple of days. So we'll see what it's looking like for him. But I'm going to bright side it a little bit. This is a team where you've got new players coming in. You're tinkering with lineups and rotations. This is an amazing opportunity for the rest of the team to kind of build some of that chemistry, get their confidence back. We're definitely going to see an uptick in minutes and usage for guys like Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis. I think Jericho Sims, we're already seeing it in the second half against Cleveland. These guys are getting involved in the game. They're using unique lineups, and so Doc is really going to have an opportunity to get his hands dirty, maybe worry a little bit less about the wins and losses over these next couple games without Giannis, and get into the meat of what they need this season. What are these rotations and the best combinations of players?
So, you brought up 3 bigs who are really important to this team's success, especially Bobby and Kuz. And I'm just curious, because inconsistency has kind of been the name of the game for both of those guys. And now let's bring Jericho back into this conversation as well. Which of these 3 players do you think the Bucks can really lean on, and who can bring it consistently every night with Giannis being out for an uncertain time frame?
Well, if history tells us anything, it's that when Giannis is not available, Bobby Portis is. Bobby Portis has always stepped into the starting lineup or extended minutes when Giannis is not available to play, and provided that extra oomph a little bit more energy, a little bit more efficiency. He's attacking the boards. And also when he's not playing with Giannis, he has a little bit more space to move around and operate on the low block, in the paint. So I think Bobby is really going to be the guy to step up here.
It'll be definitely an exciting thing to watch. History has certainly told us that Bobby Portis's performance on the court every season, basically a walking double-double off the bench in the starting lineup, absolutely throws down when Giannis is not able to get in there. And Dylan is the producer of the Here District podcast. You can watch that right now, the episode with Nekias Duncan that you got a little taste of. You can watch the rest of it on the Bucks official YouTube channel and follow the great work Dylan and the Here District team is doing at Bucks Plus Audio across social. We'll be right back here on the Bucks Beat with an exclusive excerpt of the Courtside podcast this week with Doc Rivers, a brand new episode that just got recorded today with Bucks head coach Doc Rivers. That's here on WTMJ after the break.
You're listening to a Bucks Plus audio production on the Bucks Plus network.
The biggest voices in the locker room, in the front office, and in the NBA. Our guest is the head of the herd, the head coach of the Bucks, Doc Rivers.
You know, there's a way we can do this, but a lot of people have to be on board, and he got it done, which is amazing.
This is Courtside with Gail Klappa. President of the Bucks, Peter Fagan.
I just think there's no big secret about Giannis being the focal point of kind of everything that happened.
Your all-access pass to Milwaukee's team. Our guest, Bucks General Manager John Horst.
I've always said it's our job to give Giannis and this organization the best chance to win an NBA championship each and every season that we're together.
Now, here's your host, Gail Klappa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gail Klappa, and this is Courtside. You remember the line, Mama told me there'd be days like this. Well, that sage piece of advice describes the Bucks and their one-night stand against the Cavaliers in Cleveland Monday night. It started out great. Giannis was on fire. He either scored or assisted on the first 23 points that the Bucks put on the board. But in the second quarter, he landed in pain, and with a groin strain, he could not return. The Bucks flew home empty-handed. The record, 8 wins, 7 losses in the early days of the NBA season. Tonight, we'll talk it over with an NBA veteran who knows from experience how to keep it all in perspective. Our guest is the head of the herd, the head coach of the Bucks, Doc Rivers. Doc, great to be with you as always. Thanks for sitting down with us here on Courtside.
Oh, thanks, Gail. Good to be here.
Well, Doc, we'll dig right in. I'm sure you remember the famous line from that old Van Morrison song, There'd Be Days Like This. That must be how it felt for you patrolling the sidelines Monday night in Cleveland.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, too, because I felt good about the game and how we were playing. I had an excellent shoot-around that morning and, really worked on our spacing offensively. You could see that we ran off 33 quick points, and I actually thought it was before Giannis went down in the second quarter, but I thought something happened in the first quarter that I noticed, asked him if he was okay, and he said, yeah, and then about the second time we put him in is when he got injured. So, but you could see his play change from that point on, too. So, man, tough injury for us for sure.
Yeah, amen. Well, of course, the big question, Doc, on the mind of every Bucks fan is the injury to Giannis. I know he's going through an MRI process today. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it went pretty well. I don't know what grade it is, but I know it's not a bad one, so that's good news for us. But yet and still, probably 2 weeks.
Wow.
He'll be out, and we'll see, hopefully less, but most likely in that area.
Gotcha. Well, we'll have to survive 2 weeks of, as you say, next man up. And Doc,
that's exactly right.
And Doc, if we look back over the first 15 games of the season, interested in what are your key takeaways, both the good and the areas where you and the coaching staff will focus on improvement?
Yeah, I guess the good is in there's games where we have shown consistent play on both ends of the floor. When we're moving the ball, when we're creating a lot of threes, when we're rebounding, we've had some of those games and we've won most of those games. Then we've had the games of high turnover and bad rebounds and not getting to the paint. And those games have been struggles for us. So, I haven't changed my thought on this team. I just like to get this team. I tell you, not having Scoot all year has been very difficult. It's forced lineups, honestly, Gail, that we probably don't want to play, but we've had no choice because early in the year, we had this 5 games in 7 days, and then 6 games in 9 days. We knew it was coming, so we had to stretch our team, as far as the players playing, and not having Scoot probably really hurt us, and now not having Giannis, it's going to be double whammy.
Well, Coach Scoot, Kevin Porter Jr., you were counting on him to be the starting point guard. His return, I assume, may be within the next couple of weeks, and, Coach, that could give the Bucks a real boost.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got to get through this stretch, and that's, as a coach, you're always more focused on what's next than a week or two from now, and without having Scoot, one of our main creators, not having Giannis, our best creator, we have to really, really work on our offense over this next couple of days before we play Philadelphia.
Coach, with all the injuries, there have been, as you pointed out, some real bright spots. If you will, talk about the emergence of Ryan Rollins, tough young player who can literally shoot from anywhere.
Yeah, he's been terrific. I can't wait to see him play with Scoot at times because I think that'll free his mind up a little bit instead of having to try to score and run the team. But he's just a tough kid. You have to love him if you're a Bucks fan. Like, really, he does everything he can. He defends, one of our best defenders. He's tough. He takes hits every night, and he just keeps coming. And, you guys don't get the chance to see him work the way I do. But, every day he's in the gym. Today we had a blackout day, as an example, and I always check the hand scan to see who tried to get in. He was the first guy, and we meet him at the door. We tell him to go home. Like today is one of those days. Get off your legs, get some rest, and get ready.
Well, Ryan, as you know, was originally drafted by Golden State, and in his first year in the league, I understand his locker, Coach, was right next to Steph Curry. That had to help.
That has to help. Everything that I know about Steph and I've seen, obviously, I know him a little bit better now with my daughter being married to his brother. And kind of being able to take a peek under that cape. He works, and that's one of the things Ryan talks about. I've never seen a guy take more shots than Steph. And, I remember us talking about it. I remember saying, isn't it interesting? I had Ray Allen as a player and as a coach. And Ray always took more shots than everybody on the team. And when you think logically, it should actually be the opposite. It should be everybody else should take more shots than Ray, since Ray was already the best shooter. But it also explains why Ray is a great shooter and why very few people can get to that level because they're not willing to put the work in. And Ryan is.
That's fascinating. Well, we'll have more with Coach Doc Rivers in a moment. This is Courtside on the Bucks Plus Audio Network. Gail Klompa back again with Coach Doc Rivers on the Bucks Plus Audio Network. Doc, let's switch gears for a moment and talk about the NBA Cup. Cup play well underway across the NBA, and the Bucks are 2-0 so far. I understand you're a fan of the in-season tournament. Tell us why you like it.
It's funny, Gail. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it when I was doing the broadcast my first year. And then I saw it and saw how competitive it is. And then being in it last year and obviously winning it, those games matter. I don't know if you've watched the Oklahoma video, the championship video, but they credit that game with turning their season around because we physically dominated them in that game. And that game was played like a Game 7 finals. And you can feel the intensity. And that's all they talked about is after that game, they knew they had to be tougher. There was a big step they had to take, and they took it. The year before, Indiana gets to the Eastern Conference Finals. So these tournaments matter. And I think it teaches teams that haven't been to the finals or even haven't been together a lot if they can get deep in it. So have you seen already this year the intensity of the games? Now, one rule I think is ridiculous. I don't know if you don't know this or know this, but we didn't get the points for winning the game the other night. We just got the win, and that's absolutely ridiculous.
Why is that, Doc? Why did we not get the points?
Because it was overtime.
Oh my, that needs to be changed.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like, that's why, if you remember late in that Charlotte game, we took an extra 3 and made it because we were trying to add a bigger point cushion because that's the way it's set up. Then after the game, John Horst called me and said, I'm checking the bylaws, but I remember, and he called me back and said, yeah, all we get is the win and 0 points.
Oh, my gosh. Well, thanks for letting us know that. We had no idea.
Yeah. I didn't either. And it's a ridiculous rule, and we obviously called the league about it. There's nothing they can do now, but they even said probably needs to be tweaked.
Interesting. And, of course, the players are incentivized with the possibility of a whole lot of early Christmas cash.
It is a lot of cash. Gail, I received it last year, and I can tell you, though, and I think it's hard for people to understand this, the money part doesn't come up much. It's really interesting, and I was very interested to see that as a coach last year. Not until you win, then the money came up, But it was more they wanted to win the cup, and the rest is what you get. So I was really interested to see how that took its own shape. I'm sure, I was thinking late in that game last year, the guys who are on the bench who rarely play, who have a minimum contract.
Yeah.
And they're looking at that score thinking, oh, God, please win. Please win. Because to them, the money really matters.
Well, and that's, as I remember correctly, that's about $500,000 for those players.
That's exactly right, yeah.
And then, Coach, there's our friend Darvin Ham, the Bucks' top assistant. He's the only person on the planet who's undefeated in cup play. Tell us how that's come down.
Yeah, they won it with the Lakers where he was the coach, and he has yet to lose. I guess I am too, since I only coached last year.
There you go.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I got something to tell Darvin, because I was telling Darvin after our game, we're going to keep you undefeated. Now I got to say we have to be undefeated. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, we had Darvin on last week, and he claimed to be the only person on the planet, so you need to straighten him out.
Oh, that's great news. Now I have something on him.
Doc, as always, great insight and so much fun to talk with you. Best of luck to you as you get through this stretch here with the injuries. And you've been listening to Courtside on the Bucks Plus Audio Network. Subscribe today on Bucks.com, the Bucks app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, so long, everybody.
And that concludes our show for today. You can catch the Bucks Beat next Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. on WTMJ and on the WTMJ YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.